Okay, so a little review. We're looking at, here's the point. What's the slope, Serena? Perfect. What's the point, Emily? No. You have to tell me an x value and a y value, and you get that from the equation in these two spots. Make sure those are subtractions. Grab the sheet. That's not it. It's on the other side of the box. You're on the right track, so Scarlett? Close. Got to reverse though. We have to have a subtraction so we know the value is 6. Here we have to have a subtraction, so how do we write it so it becomes a positive 8? Right? It's got to be a negative 8. So the actual values for x is negative 8, and the value for y will be 6. Okay? In order for that to turn into a plus 8, that means it has to be minus a negative. Good. Graph the question now. Go for it. Plot the point. Use your slope. Make sure you know whether you go up or down or right or left. So just to refresh your memory, it's rise over run. A positive 2 tells us that we go up 2 for a rise. And a positive 3 tells us that we go right 3. So the first thing you have to do to graph this is plot the point, negative 8, 6. Then you use the slope to find other points. And so that's when you start counting up to right 3. So here's negative 8. Up negative 8, 6 is right here. Did you plot that in the right spot? Count right 3. 1, 2, 3. Up 2. There's my other point. So then you can use this to make a nice straight line. And remember, in order to show that the line continues forever, you have to have one of two things. What's the two possibilities to show that the line continues forever? Rajat? Arrows. So you'd have to have arrows on it. Mine doesn't have arrows, so what did I do that shows the line continues forever? Jake? Yeah, it goes from one corner to one side to the other side of the grid. Okay, of your graph that you made. So if you're making a small line, you're going to be in a heap of trouble, especially for our last unit. So you want to make long lines and use arrows if you don't make them all the way across the grid. Okay? Any questions? Anyone? Can everyone do this? Hands up if you can do this. Okay. Next part now. Write an equation of the following graph in slope point form. So now we're starting with the line and we have to go to our equation. So first find the slope. So what you can do is find the values, but that's a little harder. What I would do is make a, what's this called? Yeah, make your triangle. So you want to find the slope by counting. Yes. Well, I'm not getting. Come on in. So find by counting, or use the formula m equals y1 minus y2. So y2 minus y1 rather. x2 minus x1. Okay, go ahead, find the slope. Go. Okay, so your rise is 6 squares high. Your run is 8 squares long. What's your actual answer? Yeah, divide by 3, so you get 2 over, sorry, divide by 2, 3 over 4. Kyla, I know you're late, but make sure you pick up the notes. Don't just walk in and sit down. I'm just going to have to take a little video clip here and send that to your parents. Next, change the equation into slope-intercept form. Oh, sorry, we're not done the first part. We haven't written the equation. So after we find the slope, what do we have to do next? Use the point this or the point what? What are the values of those 2 points? Please find them. Both of them, please. Who is the bottom point? Dylan? Good. -5, -5. Who is the top point? Matt? Pardon? Good. 3 and 1. So it doesn't really matter which one you use. You can choose whichever one you want. So if you use -5, -5, it would be y plus 5 equals 3/4 x plus 5. So you have to change your minus -5 to an addition in both places. Okay, because we always have subtract, but then you change it so you correct your double sign. Or you can use y minus 1 equals 3/4 x minus 3 if you use a second point. Doesn't matter which one you use, they're both correct. Okay, so now what I want you to do is I want you to change it into slope-intercept form. So you have to do some algebra now. Okay, so you can either use the y plus 5 one equals 3/4 x plus 5, or you can use the other one, y minus 1 equals 3/4 x minus 3. If you're really good, use them both. Go, do your algebra. Change one of them at least. If you're really good, change both. So you multiply them by the fraction, you multiply by the top numbers only. Then you have to multiply to get rid of your fractions. Go. Okay, so this should be plus 15. So then this should be minus 5. 5 over 4. Good. 3/4 x minus 5 over 4. Okay. Okay, so you gotta be very careful, as you just saw, obviously, with your algebra. I skipped showing that step, and I made a mistake. So next time, I definitely wouldn't skip that step, would I? Okay. This would be tough to graph, wouldn't it? Because you don't know the exact value for your y-intercept. Any questions? Okay. Next, linear equation slope point form, okay, which travels through those points. So what's the first thing you have to do? It's just like this question up above, number 2. The only difference between 2 and 3 is that 2, you start with a graph. 3, you can't use a graph to find your slope, but you have to use your slope equation. So go ahead, use your slope equation, and then put it into your slope point equation. Okay. Go ahead, find your slope, then right into the equation. Okay, so those are 2 different possible equations. Right? They're both identical in the sense that when you change them to y equals mx plus b, they'll give you the exact same result. Okay. Any questions? I'll never leave a question like this. I will make you change it into y equals mx plus b or the general form. Okay. So one of the 2. Turn it over. Yeah, do you have a question? Well, don't copy it down. Ask me to go later. Do some thinking. Linear equation is parallel and goes through this point. So here's the point. Where's the slope? Well, it says it's parallel. So what do you know about parallel lines? Yeah, they have the same slope. Okay. So the slope we actually have to use is the same one. We have to use m as -3. Okay. How are you going to write that? Which equation should you put it into? General form? Can't start there. Slope point, that's where you start. So you can start by writing down the equation. Then you substitute in the parts that were given to you. I made a mistake. Let's see if you correct it. Yeah. Tegan, what's the mistake? Well, that's correct. It should be -5. But there's a negative sign mistake somewhere. Linda? Yeah, your eyes aren't tripping out. Okay. This should be a +3 because the subtraction sign stays and we insert a -3. We got to correct our double sign. Okay. Good. Now change it. So use the above equation, y minus 5 equals negative 3, x plus 3. Change that into slope-intercept. Go. Sorry, you won't get a nasty fraction. Y equals negative 3x minus 4. Any questions? Yeah, Ian? My slope's negative 3 though, because it's told here is negative 3 up top. And so you just write down negative 3. The slope has to be the same. Okay. Okay, now we want an equation that's perpendicular to this line and goes through that point. So if it's perpendicular, what do we have to do with the slope? Hina. So instead of 4 over 5, what's the negative reciprocal? Good, negative 5 over 4. Okay. And now here's the point. Write your equation, please. Go. So there's our equation. Again, our y value is a negative 8. So we have to have a minus negative 8 to start with, and we change it to a plus 8. Okay. Now we want to change that equation to slope-intercept. Go. So one thing to note, technically you could take this and deal with your fractions. Okay, you could take that, and you know what you could actually do is move 8 to the other side right away. But this is pretty hard to do. Okay, I mean, it's not super hard, but it's probably better, it's a better skill to keep practicing getting rid of your fractions. Okay, and that's why I kind of emphasize that method. Any questions? Okay. So again, the stuff on this is kind of, you know, something you could do, an alternate method, but I again emphasize getting rid of the fractions because you have to be able to do that to write it into general form. All right. Any questions? So what we're going to do is you guys have your quiz to do. Oh, let me make sure I pause this.